Very good. Just one point of clarification there. December, we only have one, a combined study session and board meeting. So if we can get that information online so the public can do that before the 6th, that would be great as well.
Right.
Thank you. All right, where to begin? I'll start with the good stuff and then we'll address a bunch of other things. So the first one I'll start with. Up at the high school, everyone that is in the district got an email about this. There is a Christmas tree with tags where they're collecting for families that are needy in the area. So it lists the sex of boy or girl and the age. And you're supposed to purchase a present roughly around $20 or more. They don't require it to be wrapped, but they do ask that it be placed into a bag. Simply staple this on it and return it back to the high school office. So anyone that would like to help out, I would definitely recommend going up to the high school, grabbing a tag, and hopefully we can help out those in need in the area. So that's good thing number one. Good thing number two, we will go with the Gators Give Back. So Samson had wrote an article 2 weeks ago now about an alumni, Brittany Smith, who created Gators Give Back. She had reached out probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and I had known her from Gateway, from Duquesne as well, and had asked how can she give back to the district. So I had emailed a few of the principals, and they identified a few students in need, and Brittany and her sister purchased some items, some clothing items, some jackets, tennis shoes, things that these students needed. So she wanted to really start to pay it forward and grow this thing to have Gateway alumni helping other Gateway students in need that are currently attending Gateway. So after the article was written, there was over 250 people that joined Gators Give Back on Facebook in one day. And people are offering everything from Thanksgiving meals to coats and shoes and any way they can help out the district. So I can tell you that she is moving forward currently. Actually, Dane Dice is helping her go through the legal proceedings of actually making it a nonprofit so that people's donations can be a tax write-off. So I will keep everyone updated as more information becomes available. We're currently looking at identifying what students are in need of some items, and hopefully we can connect the alumni to the students that are in need. So that's good thing number two. Another good thing. So I was contacted by a corporate sponsor today. I won't go into names or anything yet until everything is finalized. But they are interested in helping out the police department through Gateway. And they would actually like to donate. We were looking at purchasing bulletproof vests at some point in the future, and they're looking at actually donating the money to purchase those and help protect the officers that hopefully will be protecting our students. So as more information is available there, I will keep everyone updated of their generosity as well. All right. The Mr. Reed unveiling on the 9th, I was unable to attend, but I heard it was a great crowd. Couldn't have gone to a better guy, so congratulations to Mr. Reed. Also, a huge shout out to the band boosters. They actually raised that money. That was not money provided by the district. I just want to make that very clear that the band boosters took that upon themselves to start a GoFundMe and raise the money in order to dedicate that to Mr. Reed. So thank you to Mr. Reed, who had retired for all of his many years of service, but also thank you to the band boosters for raising that money and donating that. All right, see if we have any other good things. The Narcan update. Nancy, I see you're in attendance. Just wanted to let everyone know, the acting CEO of Forbes met with Pete Murphy and myself today, really about an opportunity for students to be exposed to some of the health care fields, but we also discussed the Narcan policy, and they are actually willing, we're going to sit down and go through the specifics, but they're actually willing to rotate it, so it's not a continual expense to the district. So we would have the Narcan on school grounds for a few months, then they would replace that, give us new product, and reuse that on the ambulance in the emergency department, etc. So yes, I just want to keep you updated there. Okay, I think that's all the good things. So I'll start with people who had addressed the board, and I want to give some background information. And first and foremost, thank you everyone that came. This is a great crowd, and I know a lot of information is being going out there. I'm pretty sure very few people have all of the information. I'd like to try to shed some light on some of the events here. There were a few allegations that the rule was bent in the past. There's an allegation that in 2004 there was a straw poll I have no recollection. I might not have been part of that straw poll, but this policy has been in place since 1997, which is 19 years. As Mr. Nula alluded to earlier, it was actually changed in 2014. It used to be you had to have a cumulative 2.0, and was then switched that they would grade off of the 9 weeks and actually the midpoint grading as well. The reason that was implemented was when we were looking at it, when we were going through the policy audit, there are students that perform very well in high school. There are students that have to struggle and have to work hard to earn a 2.0, a 2.5. The board at that time felt it was unfair if, let's say they were going through a divorce, something happened, they lost a grandparent, anything happened where they had a bad 9-week grading period. It was actually plausible with the old policy where if you had a bad 9 weeks, you could actually be ineligible for over a year because you had to build up your cumulative QPA to 2.0 again. So we decided to change that and base it off of a 9-week period. We also allowed for summer school to count one time to go towards that as well. So I do want to just clarify that that was changed and really made it more incentivizing for students to perform well. Mr. Walker had mentioned there was no one that benefited from the policy. I did want to reiterate a point that Mr. Murphy up at the high school, the principal, had told me that there was actually a basketball player who was ineligible last year, sat down with the guidance counselor, sat down with the teachers and said, okay, how do I get a 2.0? How can I make sure that I can play for next year? And he actually worked his butt off and will be eligible to play this year. So I do want to say that in circumstances that it is working, it is incentivizing, and students are progressing. So I just don't want that being bounced around there. The accusation that students were told, and I will not get into any individual student, but that students were told of ineligibility Friday at noon. I do want to address that. The grades were posted on Monday. Election day, the 8th, was on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the superintendent, the building principal up at the high school, the assistant principal, and the athletic director all got together and went over eligibility. I believe there was roughly 5 students across all sports and activities that were ineligible, deemed ineligible. At that point in time, the students and or their parents and guardians were notified that they're ineligible on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I don't know about other board members, I received 0 complaints, 0 emails, phone calls, etc. As George had alluded to, school board members and the athletic director got involved at that point in time and brought it upon themselves to see if there's a way to override board policy 122.1. A supposed vote was taken, and I believe, and I cannot confirm this, but I believe the student was told, I'm not sure exactly by who yet, but that he was eligible and able to play, or that multiple students were eligible to play. When board members were asked about how they voted, they were not provided with accurate information. They were not provided with all of the information, and actually had a board member say that they never voted on the issue, or that they actually had voted a different way on the issue. From that point in time, we did a straw poll vote, and 7 board members out of the 9 had recommended we stick to board policy and administration's recommendation from the high school principal and the superintendent. That was then again reiterated to all students about eligibility and what the policy was. So I do just want to get that out there. This was not something that was thrown out last minute. The 9-week grades came out, the policy was upheld, they went through, they notified. From that point in time, I believe systematic abuse of power had occurred, and that's how these things happen. I will say I love being on the school board. I love it for a lot of reasons. One of the things that absolutely is horrible is telling a student or voting to tell a student you're ineligible to play a sport, to do an activity that you love. That is not something I believe anyone up here enjoys doing. So I do want to also put that out there. So that will be being looked into. As far as several people have brought up, we should have some type of program that helps the students. A program is supposed to be in place, and I completely agree. I think there was systematic failure by the district at upholding that. So if you look at administrative regulation under 122.1, it says that there should be study halls for any ineligible players, that they should be mandated to go to the study halls. Somewhere along the lines, policy was not followed in that regard, and I believe that the district did drop the ball. So I will fully take responsibility of that, and I will fully say that administration is looking into that and seeing where the miscue happened and why that board policy or why that administrative regulation was not followed through in its entirety. So to everyone who brought up that point, I completely agree with you, and I believe that we should stick to the board policy as approved by the board. As far as the competitive disadvantage, if a team cheats, we are at a competitive disadvantage. So I would not go to players and say you should go and cheat. Along the same lines, yes, I understand we have a more stringent eligibility policy than other districts. Some just follow PIAA, which is you have to be passing your 4 core classes, or for any 4 classes actually, I believe. So we do have a stronger standard, which I do like. Steve had mentioned, we ranked in all these rankings, and it's true. And if you look at surrounding districts, they have policies that are even more rigid than ours. If you look at Franklin, they have, I believe it's a 72 you have to have in all of your main classes. If you drop below an F, or if you have an F in a class, you have 5 days to bring it up. If not, you're then ineligible. So there are other things. If the board wants to look at a policy, I am all for it. I think we should. The one thing I would caution all board members and everyone in the public, though, is we should not be lowering the academic standard here at Gateway. We should be uplifting. We should be helping students achieve that academic standard and that bar that we set. But I don't think that we want to set the precedence of lowering an academic standard, especially based on one instance. So I do want to clarify that as well. The gen ed was brought up. Carrie, you know my feelings on that. I could go on all night about that, so I'll hold off on that one. And you had mentioned again the academics, that we need to help them, and I agree there. So that's that. Again, I believe where the big miscue happened and why we received so many phone calls and why I spent half of my day on Friday at the schools talking to individuals. Once an email was sent out, I received a lot more calls. Wasn't after Wednesday when all players or any players were deemed ineligible. It was after board members got involved, thought that they could override the policy, and then that was not the case. That's where the miscue happened. And I understand the frustration completely. I understand why players were upset, coaches were upset, the public was upset. I do not think that should occur. It's been occurring in the past. It probably will continue to occur, and I do not think that is right. So I think all board members should look at that and make sure that we are following policies and procedures. As for the Cheesegate, I will deem it, the presentation that was just shown. Again, a few questions I have, just to make the public aware. This was brought up not by a concerned resident, well, maybe most likely is a concerned resident, but this was brought up by an employee. Why we had board members in coolers inspecting food, I am not sure. I can tell you, when this information was brought up, an extensive investigation was done. This was our nice reading material last week. So just to let you know, the health department of Allegheny County came in on October 11th and did a review and went through all the coolers, went through everything, and said that there were no recommendations on areas of improvement. On October 18th, so exactly a week later, an anonymous tip was called into Allegheny Health Department. Another investigation, another review was conducted. Again, no recommendations for any areas of improvement. On another week later, on October 24th, the municipality of Monroeville was called in by Gateway officials to have them do a walkthrough. Again, everything checked out. So I do want to make people aware. First and foremost, I don't think we should be spreading the message that this food was served to students, that there is no information whatsoever that says that that is accurate. I think most definitely there is a huge problem with cycling the food. I believe individuals were being, we'll say, disciplined for not following that policy, and I believe that's where a lot of this came from. So I don't want to get into specifics, but I also don't want the public going around saying we are serving food from 1989 and that our cheese is covered in mold and that's what we're making pasta with. So again, I know nothing of that to be true. I also am not a food expert. That's why we relied on them. That's why we actually called these agencies in ourselves. And then again, an anonymous tip was brought up, and they came back out a week later and did another investigation. So by all means, I'm sure we'll probably have another audit here this week after this information gets out, which I'm fine with, because I think we should have an open door policy. If anything is wrong, I think we should address that.
The district will be posting this information on the website. Also, sorry to
Absolutely.
interrupt, the Food and Nutritional Department has been following all USDA regulations and mandates that are specifically listed on the USDA site. They have been followed. It was investigated. These are the findings. As we talked amongst ourselves, it comes down to the board wanting to develop a policy, setting a higher standard for the food service or the food that we offer our children. We are open to that. We are discussing that, and we will continue to do so. But rest assured that I have not received one phone call about the food preparation, student getting sick, nothing. So I want the public to be rest assured that nothing has happened. Thank you.
Very good. And lastly, not lastly, I actually forgot another good thing, so we'll end with that. But to all board members, I again strongly recommend we follow board policy, we follow board procedures. When we get tied into investigating and playing detective and doing all these things, making promises we can't uphold, problems occur, problems arise. Times when we should be looking at, okay, what is good in the district? What accomplishments do we have? I mean, you look at this football team and how great they did. That was a huge accomplishment, and I think, unfortunately, a lot of students were overlooked in their accomplishments this past week because of adult involvement, getting involved with things that we should never have been involved with. So to all students involved with that, I do apologize. I continue to urge all board members, follow policy, follow procedure. It's very easy to throw an accusation up there and say, okay, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, and then it's unfounded. That does not help the district, that does not help the students, that does not help the taxpayer, that does not help anybody. If there's a valid concern, we expect it to be brought up, and we pay people a lot of money up here to do those investigations and to look into those things. I recommend we continue to follow those policies and procedures, have people look into those things. So I'm not trying to sweep anything under the carpet, I'm not trying to say, we should not look into these things, but the involvement, we can't just continue to get involved and create problems. That's not good for anyone. The last thing I wanted to mention, another good thing I forgot, was our gifted program took first in a contest last week for creativity convention. So to them, congratulations. That was a great job. Again, we have 89.4. 89.7, sorry, shortchanging us, in the school performance profile. So to all teachers, to all students, thank you very much appreciated. With that, I will seek motion for adjournment.
And we won hometown IQ.
Very good.
What about the paintings?
And Neil, you
I
have
did
the
that
motion.
last time, it's the same ones actually,
okay.
that's why I didn't.
I seek a motion for adjournment.
So